This is Math Expressions, Unit 3, Lesson 6. And let's start off, of course, by putting your name up at the top, your class number, and then the date that you're working on this page. So if you need to, pause the video and get that done and start it back up when you're ready to go. Alright, so in this video, in this lesson, we're going to start off. This is a little bit longer lesson. It's 4 pages long. And we're going to start off by rounding 2-digit numbers to the nearest 10. So in the last lesson, we rounded to the nearest 100, or to the nearest 100. Today, we're going to round to the nearest 10. And I'm going to pause the video up really quickly here and bring up a thing you have in your binders. Okay, so you see that I've brought up, in your binders, in the front pocket of your binders, you have this card. It's a math reference card that you have. And so take a second, grab that, get that out, and then we're going to focus on just one part of that card and when you come back. Okay, so you see that we're going to focus on that part that's in the very bottom right corner. And this, this is a rounding. This is to help us round. And we can use this actually to round to the nearest tens, hundreds, whatever. Because that all works the same. You'll see in just a little bit how that works. Okay, so let's look up here. And the directions say to round to the nearest 10. So just like we did with our hundreds, let's start off, here let's look at number 1. Let's start off by underlining the digit that's in the tens place, 6. And that's really 60, right? And so 63, if we look at the whole number, and we're rounding to the nearest 10, well, these are counting by tens, right? These are counting by tens. So this goes from 0 to 10, right? And then from 10 to 20, 20 to 30. So where would 63 be? So if you find 63 right here, there's 63. Well, where would it round to? And on this one, if it's in the yellow, we're going to round to the left. We're going to round down. If it's in the red, we're going to round, we call it rounding up, right? So going to the left means we're going to round down. Going to the right means we're rounding up. Okay, so 63 rounds to 60. So there we go, okay? So use your card, use this reference card, and use this rounding part to go ahead and work on rounding each of those 2 through 8. And then, so pause the video, get that done, and then when you're ready to go, you can start the video back up. Okay, so now we are on this section, and it says to round 3-digit numbers. So this time we're going to use 3-digit numbers, but we're still going to round to the nearest 10. So the directions say to round each number to the nearest 10. So we're going to start off, let's look at number 9 together. And I'm going to bring my card back up and put it up there. Okay, so I have my reference card up there. So same thing, it's really important. So I'm looking at number 9 here. And it says to the nearest 10. Well, which digit? Is it the 1, the 6, or the 2? Which digit is in the tens place? And it's that 6, right? That 6 means 60. That's in the tens place. So what happens is, really all we need to do is look at 62. And what does 62 round to? Well, if we come up and we find it up on our card, here's 62. And remember the rule is, if it's in the yellow, we're going to round down to 60. So 162 becomes, that 62 becomes 60, and that 100 just stays the same. So whatever digit is to the right, to the left of the place will just stay the same. So whether it's that 100 or over here, that 700, that's going to stay the same. We're only going to work on that 41. Where's 41? Okay, hopefully that makes sense to you. So pause the video, work on answering all the way up to number 16, so 10 through 16, and then when you're ready to go, we'll look at number 17 together. Okay, so now we are right here, we're going to look at number 17, and it says to explain your thinking. And the directions say, when you round a number to the nearest 10, how do you know whether to round up or down? How do you know? So use what you know, use what we've done, and see if you can explain to me here, how do you know whether you're going to round up or down? And then, so go ahead, pause the video, do that, and then when you're ready to go, we'll go on. All right, so let's go ahead and go on to the next page. So again, always put your name, number, class number, and the date that you're working on the page, because especially these longer ones, you know, who knows when you're actually going to be working on these. So, and things happen, right? You might be interrupted. So go ahead and do that, and when you're ready to go, we'll start up. All right, so in this part of the lesson, we're going to estimate our answers. We're going to estimate. And remember, estimate means to give a close answer, and it's about this much. It's not an exact. So we're not calculating exactly. We're just saying it's close to this, or it's about this much. So again, I love this. Solve each problem. That's awesome. Number 18, let's go ahead and look at this. The chart at the right shows how many smoothies were sold at the Juice Hut yesterday. By rounding each number to the nearest 10, and I'm going to underline that, nearest 10, estimate how many smoothies were sold in all. So the first thing we need to do is round each of these numbers to the nearest 10. And you can use your math card, your reference card, to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase the little lines, and then we can use the space there. So 13, what does that round to? It rounds to 10, right? 38, that rounds to 40. 44 rounds to 40. And 61 rounds to 60. So there we go. So now we've rounded, which means that those are close amounts, right? They're not the exact amounts, they're close amounts. So if we add them all up now, we will get, so I'm going to put a little plus sign. If we add them all up now, we will get a close answer, but not an exact answer, right? We will get a good estimate. So all the zeros just add up to 0. And then I'm looking at partners for 10. 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 5, so 15. So the answer is, how many smoothies were sold? We're going to say 150 smoothies. Because what are we counting? We're counting smoothies. All right. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. So if you need to pause the video, please, and copy all that down. Make sure that you have all that written down on your page. And when you're ready to go, what we'll do is I'll read the next couple of problems, and then I'll give you time. You can take time to work on those, get them complete, and then we'll go on. So go ahead, pause the video, make sure you have everything copied down on your own page, and when you're ready to go, start back up. Okay, so now we are going to look at number 19 here. It says, a store has 52 necklaces, 75 bracelets, 36 rings, and 23 earrings. Round each number to the nearest 10, and I'm going to underline that again, nearest 10, to find out about how many pieces of jewelry the store has. Okay, so I would say use this space, this blank space over here, to show, well, what does 52 round to? What is 75 round to? So I would use that space, and then it'd be easy for you to add up. And then when you're done, go ahead and put your answer there. Don't forget, what are we counting? How many pieces of jewelry? That's what we're counting. That's our label. Or how many, you can just pieces if you want as a label. All right, so when you're done with that work, go ahead and pause the video. And when you're done with that work, start back up, and we'll look at number 20 together. Okay, so let's look at number 20. It says, Roz rented a movie that is 123 minutes long. She watched 48 minutes of it. Round each number to the nearest 10 to estimate how many more minutes she has to watch. So this one's a little bit trickier. We're going to find the difference between how long the movie is and how much of the movie she's watched so far, which means we're going to do some subtraction. So we're going to round 123 and 148, and maybe use like the space over here, to show me your work. So remember, 123, we're still looking at the digit in the tens place, right? That 48, we're looking at the digit in the tens place. That's what we're rounding to. So go ahead, pause the video, finish that up, and then when you're ready to go on, we'll look at the next section. Okay, so now we're down here. Use the table at the right to solve problems 21 through 23. So here's the table. The title is Jefferson Elementary School Books Received. And they have math books and they have reading books. So math books, they got 436, and reading books 352. Okay, so Books received. So let's look at number 21. Number 21 says to estimate the total number of books the school received by rounding each number to the nearest 100. Nearest 100. So you guys know how to do that. We did that before. So round each of those to the nearest 100, add them together, and then your answer is what? So estimate the numbers. What are we counting in this one? Books. So our label is going to be books. So you're going to have some amount of books. So go ahead, pause the video and do that. And when you're ready to go, and you can use this space actually to show me your work. And then when you're ready to go, or go ahead and use that space. Sorry, when you're ready to go, start it back up and we'll look at 22. Okay, here's number 22. Estimate the total number of books the school received by rounding each number to the nearest 10. Oh, that one's trickier. So now, instead of rounding to the nearest 100, round to the nearest 10. Oh, that'll be interesting. So go ahead and do that. You guys know how to do that. So the same thing, round each of those to the nearest 10, add them together and see what you get, and put your answer here. Our label is still going to be books. We're still counting the books, right? So pause the video, get that done. When you're ready to go, we'll look at number 23. All right, so now we're looking at 23. Find the total number of math and reading books. Find the total number of math and reading books. Which of your estimates is closer to the actual total? So this time, they're not asking us to round at all. We're just going to add those together and get the real amount, right? The actual amount. And then put that here. I would say put that answer there, and then a little period. And then tell which of your estimates, was it the hundreds or was it the tens that was closer to the actual total? So go ahead and pause the video, get that done, and then when you're ready to go on, we will go on to the next page of the lesson. Okay, so let's go on to the next page. And again, let's put our name and our class number and the date that you're working on this page up at the top. So when you're ready to go, we'll continue. All right, so on this page, we're looking at reasonable answers, and the directions say to use rounding. It doesn't tell us to round to the 10 or 100. It just says use rounding to decide if the answer is reasonable. Like, is it close enough? That way we could say, yeah, that your estimate, right? Yeah, it's reasonable. It's a reasonable answer. And then it says to write your estimate and then write yes or no. So this is really similar to what we did, I think it was in the last lesson. So really similar to that. So my rule of thumb is we're going to round if it is a 2-digit number, like if it's 93, we're going to round to the 10, right? We're going to say that that's 90. If it's a 3-digit number, like over here, I would say let's round to the nearest 100. So 113, we would say would become 100, right? So just like we did before, let's go ahead and look at number 24 together. So 93, that becomes 90. 29 becomes 30, right? We round up on that. And then if you did that, what's 9 take away 3? Well, it's 60, right? And then you can look at, well, is that pretty close to 64? Yeah, it is. So I'm going to say my answer, that's my estimate, right? 60 is my estimate. And then I'm going to say, yes, that's a pretty reasonable, right? That's a pretty reasonable answer. So let's go ahead and look at number 25 then. Okay, so copy that down if you need to. So pause the video. If you need to, copy that down, and when you're ready to go, we'll look at number 25. All right, so same thing. We already did this. We rounded. Oh, I don't like that. I'm going to redo that. So we're going to take 113, and we're going to round to 100. And then we're going to add, well, what does 57 round to? It rounds to 60. So 100 plus 60 equals 160. Well, now that's, to me, that's pretty far away, really, from 142. So I would say, so my rounding or my estimate is 160, and I'm going to say no on that one. That one's pretty far away. It's 20 away from what the answer is. So what they're saying the answer is, they're saying the answer should be 140, and we're saying the answer should be closer to 160, and that's pretty far away. So that's not a reasonable answer that they gave us. All right, so hopefully that helps you know what you're supposed to do on this page. So go ahead, pause the video, finish this all this page, and then when you're ready to go, start it back up, and we'll look at the last page. All right, so now we're going to move on to the last page of the lesson, and go ahead and put your name, number, and the date up here, and then you can pause the video. When you're ready to go, start it back up. Okay, so Puzzle Penguin, what's the error, right? There's always an error. He writes, "Dear math students, today my teacher asked me to estimate the answer to this problem. Ms. Smith's class brought in 384 cans for the food drive. Mr. Alvarez's class brought in 524 cans. About how many cans did the two classes bring in?" And then right here it shows you how he rounded those numbers and his total. And he said about 800 cans were brought in. Is my answer correct? If not, please correct my work and tell me what I did wrong. Your friend, Puzzled Penguin. So hopefully you see what he did wrong. And over here, number 33, write your answer there. What did he do wrong? And what is the actual answer, right? Is his answer correct? Well, we know his answer is not correct. Nope. What did he do wrong? All right, so go ahead, pause the video, finish that up, and then when you're ready to go, we'll look at the last bit. Okay, so now we are down here. You've probably seen, like, estimate how many are in this jar or whatever. That's what this kind of is. So jar D, this jar right here, jar D, it says that to that level right there is 100 beans. That's 100 beans. Estimate how many beans are in the other jars. So knowing that level, if it's full to that level, is 100, how many do you think are in jar A, jar B, and jar C? So go ahead, pause the video, and complete those, and then when you're ready to go, we'll continue on. Okay, so here we go. Now we're down to the last bit. Check understanding, and it says to round each number to the nearest 10. Underline that, please, nearest 10. So there's that. I'm going to underline each of the 10s in each of those, and then so you should do the same. Go ahead and complete that, and then when you're done, that'll be the end of lesson 6. Great job, you guys. That was a long one. Good job hanging in there. It's a lot of work.